Hello there, a very good morning and a warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for watching Smart 24 TV. Welcome back from Smart Means Business with Joram Paul Sonko there. Of course, the Deposit Protection Fund, of course, taking over the show there at Smart Means Business. And thank you so much, of course, for choosing the #1 business channel in East Africa. Smart 24 TV is live on DSTV channel 372, as well as GOTV channel 394. My name is Anthony Sebale, and together with
Nampija Gloria Christine,
we bring you the latest updates from the financial markets globally, regionally, as well as locally here in Uganda. The show is proudly brought to you by Altex East Africa. Altex is your #1 trading platform, and with Altex East Africa under Zabu, we are saying you can access now the market and be able to afford treasury bonds in East Africa like never before. Simply grab your phone and dial *292# and follow the prompts. You'll definitely be able to trade with Altex East Africa. Altex is licensed by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda to carry out trade on the treasury bond market here in Uganda and within East Africa. And now they opened their gates at exactly 15 minutes past 8 a.m. and close at 15 minutes past 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. Get to invest with as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings at Altex. And yes, we are saying at Altex East Africa, you can do something new. Gloria, let's get to delve into the business of trade as per yesterday. Today we have quite a number of things to discuss. One of them, Gloria, we are going to look into the 7 top stocks, rather growth stocks in the United States that probably you haven't actually given attention. But we'll also be looking at trade across the United States currently, how the markets are faring. And then later on, of course, we'll be looking at Nairobi Securities Exchange and the Uganda Securities Exchange. Just to start off, Gloria, how was the trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange as per yesterday?
the trading on the Ugandan Securities Exchange yesterday, there was a total of 52,108 shares corresponding to the market value of 7.742 thousand shillings were traded, compared with the previous USE trading day, which was Monday, July 3rd. And yesterday's data shows a 325 improvement in the volume of 623 improvement.
Yeah.
So the 3 USE listed equities participated in trading, ending with 4 gainers and 5 losers. So our top gainers were National Media Group, which led with 0.87 price shares, followed by Centum Investment, Kenyan Airways, MTN Uganda, with our losing groups as Umeme, East African Breweries, Equity Bank, and KCB Group, followed by Stanbic Bank. Yeah.
Well, let's look at, for example, the improvements. These are quite good improvements. When you look at the volumes, they improved by 325%, as well as the turnover improving over 623% yesterday. Let's look at a detailed report, Gloria, of the top gainers. How did Nation Media Group, Centum, Kenya Airways, and MTN perform in particular? NMG, for example, what was the gain? We had a 0.87% appreciation in price, up to 497.59 Ugandan shillings, which was quite interesting. And then we look at Centum Investments gaining over about 0.30% and closing off the day at 235.05 08 Ugandan shillings, and Kenya Airways at 0.08% appreciation. But interesting here is, Gloria, I want to pick on MTN Uganda, for example. How has MTN Uganda been performing in the last few months? And when you look at their, for example, weekly performance, when you look at their monthly performance, how has MTN been able to perform? Because remember, MTN, when we got the listing of MTN back in 2021, it came in as an initial public offer, which was electronic. Many people were interested in the stock. Also, MTN is now currently the most valuable stock via market capitalization, with a huge market capitalization of close to over 3.81 trillion. So people would love to know how the stock has been currently performing.
Okay, MTN Uganda is the second most traded stock on the Ugandan Securities Exchange over the past 3 months. That is from March 29th to July 4th, 2023. MTN has traded a volume of 4.9 million shares valued at 7.62 Ugandan billion shillings and with an average of 700,000 traded shares per session. A volume high of 12.6 million was achieved on July. In fact, on June 27th or the same period.
Wow, so their biggest volume has been 12.6 million. What is their weekly performance as per the guidelines and the appreciation or depreciation in price?
MTN had an appreciation of 3.1%.
Weekly performance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then during the 4-week period, had an appreciation of still 3.1. Then in the 3 months period, had an appreciation of 0.07%.
Things look a little bit better in the shorter term, but how about the longer term performance, like the year-to-date performance of the stock? How has MTN been able to perform in the last year-to-date performance? When you look at their starting price, how did MTN begin the year 2023?
Okay, year to date, they had a depreciation of 5.49%. Then for the year, they had a depreciation of 5.49 to date.
Yeah, so that gives us a good picture. Also, MTN had their annual general meeting this year, dear viewers, and they did approve their dividend. So if you are a shareholder at MTN Uganda, you should be expecting something at least towards the end of this particular month, as per, of course, the annual general meeting that, of course, they discussed the dividend and approved what could be one of their biggest dividends. Last year, they issued 4.7, and this year, we are looking at about 15 shillings per share, and that, of course, is liable to tax by the government, and, of course, you should be anticipating highly for that next dividend that's going to be issued this particular month. Gloria, we cross over to the domestic losers. When you look at the losing side of the Uganda Securities Exchange yesterday, the bottom stock was Wumeme. Unfortunately, Wumeme came in at the end of the trail after depreciating close to 2.27%, down to a price of 430.0 Ugandan shillings per share. And this is, of course, after Wumeme has been very, very, very top on top of its game when it comes to performance. Wumeme is one of those stocks, Gloria, that have created a lot of value for their shareholders. When I look at, for example, in the long run, their 3 months performance is still currently at over 32.6% appreciation. When you look at their 6 months performance, over 78.4% appreciation in price, and their 1 year performance 79.9%. Quite big movements. So yesterday was actually a blow in the face at Wumeme after the stock lost over 10 shillings and was down by 2.27%. Quite very unusual for Wumeme these days, but this also happened. Let's talk about Wumeme, the stock performance for this particular stock. When you look at the previous financial year, 2022-2023, how did Wumeme perform as far as their dividend is concerned?
Well, according to their dividend, the board of directors recommended a dividend of shillings 63.9 ordinary share to be paid off for the year. This was for the year 31st December 2022. Subject to the approval of shareholders at the annual general meeting scheduled for 18th May.
Wow.
Yeah, and so this dividend, which was subject to withholding tax, will be paid about 20th July. About
20th. So that means we have just like about 15 days to go.
Yes.
Wow. How about when you look at their profit, how has their profit influenced this increase in dividend? Because you mentioned a very important issue there, that their dividend rose last year. And by the way, they have been one of the most dedicated companies when it comes to issuing dividends. Every single year, you see Wumeme issuing a very huge dividend compared, of course, to the other stocks that are listed. So what was their profit like, especially the gross profit and the profit before, actually the profit after tax? How was that performance as per their financial statements?
Well, their gross profit of that reduced actually to 1.5%. Yeah, this was Ugandan shillings 633 billion from 642 billion.
From 642 to 633. That's about 10 billion shillings or 9 point something billion.
Yeah.
How about the profit after tax? Looking at their profit after tax, how did the company perform in as far as the profit after tax is concerned? Because when you talk about the profit, the gross profit, yes, it declined, but the dividend went up. So definitely things must have improved, at least in terms of the profit after tax.
Yeah, the profit after tax increased to 148 billion from Ugandan shillings 139.
Wow. So that means, of course, you see, when we are looking at financial statements, Gloria, sometimes people misinterpret financial statements. Someone looks at the gross profit and they say, oh, this company performed poorly because the gross profit reduced. But when you look at the profit after tax, it gives you a clearer picture of what is really happening, because usually these taxes also vary. This year they could introduce a new tax, and that of course would impact on the profit after tax, right? But when you look at the gross profit, usually it's not a very good representation of how the company is performing. So that's evident from Wumeme's performance there, that you had the company lose out on some of the gross profits, but when it comes to profit after tax, the company actually improved. And so I think that explains probably the increase in the dividend they are issuing this year. That is, of course, Wumeme's performance currently. However, Wumeme is one of those companies that have a lot of value on the exchange. Currently, the company has close to over about 698 billion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization, representing close to about 4.02% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange. Quite interesting performance there from Wumeme. But also they are currently the 7th most valuable, and in terms of trade, they are the 2nd most traded on, rather 3rd most traded on stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, of course, Wumeme, that's it from the stock here in Uganda. Wumeme is also cross-listed in Nairobi, and we will see later on the performance in Nairobi, which has also been declining slightly in the recent few days. When you look at Wumeme's performance on Nairobi Stock Exchange, there has been small fractions of value that have been lost along the way, especially since the beginning of, since the middle of June. That's when we had slight declines, of course, after very, very strong gains before. Then we did have East African Breweries Limited drop about 1.98%, and East Equity Bank Limited at least dropped about 1.22%, whereas Kenya Commercial Bank, or KCB Group, lost about 0.43% of their trading price. Now, regarding the performance of the stocks here in Uganda, the biggest the record volume was recorded by MTN Uganda after recording about 28,600 shares that were traded on the exchange. He was followed strictly by Stanbic Bank at 17,900 shares and Wumeme at 5,608 Ugandan shillings. That, of course, explains the performance, of course, that improved the volumes by 325% and the trading turnover by 623%, courtesy of mainly MTN and Wumeme there on the exchange. Regarding the performance of the indices, the benchmark index, that is the Uganda Securities Exchange All Share Index, dropped off at least 7.59 points and was down to 1,012.57 points on the Uganda Securities Exchange, representing a one-week gain of 1.44% and a four-week loss of 3.57%. That's it mainly from the All Share Index. The local company index, which tracks the aggregate performance of all the local stocks, at least decreased by 0.18% down to 271.16 points. And this was a one-week gain now of 1.78% and a four-week loss of 0.8%. 0.83%. And that's the trading, my friend, from the Uganda Stock Exchange. We are going to go to Nairobi Stock Exchange after the break, right, Gloria?
Yes.
And when we return with Nairobi Stock Exchange, Gloria, what do we have for the top gainers, and what was the average performance like for Nairobi yesterday?
Okay, our top gainers were Sanlam Kenya, followed by Eveready East Africa, then Flame Tree Group Holdings, and Capture Tea Company. And on the losing side, we had Summer Africa, then African Breweries, then Trans-Century, and also NCBA Group.
NCBA Group. And of course, Safaricom recorded the highest volume after recording about 15.9 million shares. Yes, Safaricom is also returning to its feet, and that is something interesting. A lot of the shareholders at Safaricom had got discouraged that probably the stock would not return. But yes, the stock is returning really, really fast. And definitely we do appreciate the fact that Safaricom is performing the way it is, and we hope it does maintain. So KCB Group also recorded 1.56 million shares, and Ken General Group at least 1.42 million, and Equity Group Holdings over 768,500 shares. Well, we are going to take a very short break. We'll return shortly for more details on Nairobi Stock Exchange and the 7 growth stocks you did not know on the United States market. My name is Anthony, and I'm with Gloria, and we'll return shortly after this quick break.